Sawadee-kap, hello and welcome to Daily Wisdom, Walking the Path with the Buddha. Today is our group learning program, and I'll be guiding you in a breathing mindfulness meditation. So welcome to all of you, whether you're joining for the first time or you're joining regularly. The way that I do this particular class is I guide you in a meditation session, then I open up to any and all questions that students have related to the path to enlightenment. So whether you're in Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, if you would like to ask any questions, you can do that once we finish up our meditation. I'm going to start with some chanting to ease us into the meditation. Then I'm going to be providing some guidance during the meditation. Then there's going to be a long period of time where we're just meditating together. It'll just be quiet and each person will be meditating at the same time. Then we're going to come out of our meditation with some more chanting. And then that's where I'll open up to any and all questions that you guys have. So welcome to all of you, whether you're joining for the first time or you've been joining regularly. And if you'd like to join for meditation, you might pull up a meditation cushion or a chair or whatever it is that you like to use for meditation. Again, I'm going to start with the chanting, and you guys are welcome to join along in this, and then I'll come back in with the guidance after that. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Bhutang Bhagavanang Abhivateyami Savakato Bhagavata Tammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Bhagavato Sāvaka Saṅkho Saṅghang Namami Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vicacaranang Sammuno Sakato Rokavitu Anuptero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatawa Manusanang Bhoto Bhagavati. Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect, just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath, a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled, just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathing gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath, either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. หังสัมมาสัมพุทโธมหาเกวาโอตังมหาเกวันหังอภิวาเตมิสวากขาโตมหาเกวัตตาธัมโมธัมมังนามัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนมหาเกวัตโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินับโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนับโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนับโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสมหาเกวาอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิจาจารณังสัมมุโนสกขาโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรปุริสานามาสติสัตตาตาวามนุสนังโอโตภาควาติ All right, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation. Once again, welcome to everyone in our class today, whether you're in Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, or whether you're listening to this on the replay, welcome to everyone. What I do on Wednesdays is I just open up to any and all questions that you guys have related to the path to enlightenment. If there's anybody that has questions, you can put those into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, or you can raise your hand in Zoom and ask any and all questions that you like. Just let me know, and you can just unmute your microphone in order to ask questions. Okay, looks like Fiona has a question. Go ahead, Fiona.
Oh, hello, David, and everybody online. I was wondering if you could help me. I'm having a challenging time with physical pain. I've had problems with my lower back, so I was doing back strengthening exercises, and about 5 weeks ago developed a pain it's the joint at the lower back and pelvis, and I thought it would get better over about 3 weeks or so, but it's just got worse, and it's bringing my mood down, and the painkillers aren't really working, and I'm just feeling a bit low with it. I was just wondering if you've got any advice.
Yeah, sure. There's kind of two sides to this. What's causing the mind to be, you said, brought your mood down, is that the mind has a craving for permanent comfort of the body. And when the body is experiencing comfort, there's the happiness and pleasant feelings. But when the body isn't getting what it wants, which is the permanent comfort of the body, then it's going to have that grumpiness or irritability or low mood or whatever it is that you're experiencing. So you need to understand that this body is impermanent. No matter how much your mind is developed, you are going to experience physical pain. When we experience physical pain, we can understand that this pain is impermanent. Just like the comfort of the body is impermanent, that it's not going to be permanently comfortable, it's not going to be permanently uncomfortable either. And reminding yourself of that is really important. And then what you would like to do is make wise decisions to get it back to comfort as easy as you can and as quickly as you can. And it sounds like maybe you visited a doctor or you have pain medicine or things like this. Whatever the right mix is for you, whether it's massages or hot packs, cold packs, chiropractic, all these different things that are available to you, stretching, yoga, different things like this, all these different things that are available to you, you're going to need to find what is the right mix to address the body so that it can get back to comfort. And in the meantime, you're going to need to train your mind to understand that this discomfort is impermanent and the comfort of the body is impermanent too, and just make as many wise decisions towards getting the body back to health as you can.
Oh, thank you. That's really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Your flower on your Zoom screen is very similar to Miriam. I thought you were Miriam when I first logged in. I don't know if you heard me when I mentioned Miriam's name. I thought it was you, but
right.
You guys have a very similar image, and I didn't read your name.
Can I ask another question?
Sure, you can ask as many as you like.
Oh, thank you. My son was doing some work for a neighbour, and everything was going really well. And then suddenly, she texted him and said, "You've overcharged me for some materials, and I can't believe you've done this to me. I've only been nice to you over the years." And it really upset him. So he broke down all the charges, and she realised she'd made a mistake and then apologised and said it was a misunderstanding. But they've sort of... probably he's not going to do any more work for her. And I've been her friend for a long time. So then I felt upset. Is this the end of the friendship? And I reflected on it. And my son said that he didn't mind me still being her friend. So then she wished me a happy Easter and things like that. So I replied. And I've done some loving kindness meditation, and I feel in a better place about it now. So I'm going to continue to be her friend. But do you have any advice? Because it sort of was quite upsetting at the time, and you feel like you want to protect, although he's grown up, but he is my son, and sort of in the past, I might have sort of thought, right, I don't ever want to be her friend because she's done this to my son. But then with the path, I've sort of thought, well, life's short and she's always been a good friend. So maybe it's best just to sort of put it down to experience and not forget, but try and move on. So do you have any advice on that situation?
Yeah, there's multiple things here. What's causing your discontentedness is your attachment to your son, right? You have an attachment to your son and maybe wanting him to be treated a certain way by other people. That's the craving, that's the desire. And you need to understand that all this was some impermanence. This individual thought that there was something wrong, and they were clinging to a perception. They had a certain view and opinion, and they were clinging to that. And they did something unskillful, which was tell your son, it sounds like in an unkind way, that he had overcharged. And that's just impermanence. Not everyone's going to treat your son wonderfully. And you're going to need to train your mind to let go of any kind of craving, desire, attachment to your son. So what I suggest you do is do the contemplation of death. I don't know if you've heard me teach that before, but you're going to need to do contemplation of death with your son in mind, where you confront the impermanent nature of your son and reminding yourself of his death. Not that you're aspiring for him to die, but this is going to help your mind confront the impermanent nature of your son. And if you need help with that, let me know when I'm done here, and I'll with this answer, and I will tell you how to do the contemplation of death. but also some other things in there. So not only is the mind attached to your son, but when the mind's not getting what it wants, that's when the anger, frustration, or agitation arises. And now the mind is either going to push away, right? It's going to push the person or the situation away. It's going to be bitter, harsh, and hostile. It's going to put its expectations on people. So what your mind was doing is you were pushing the situation away, saying, oh, I don't want to be friends with this person anymore, thinking that that's going to solve the problem. That's called aversion, right? And then you were thinking like, oh, maybe my son won't do any work with her anymore. That doesn't actually solve the problem. That actually allows the problem to continue because the craving, desire, attachment hasn't been eliminated. So you're going to need to eliminate this attachment to your son and wanting people to treat him a certain way. And that's what's going to allow you to eliminate the frustration or agitation or annoyance or anger, whatever it was that was in there, and realize that pushing this friend away doesn't solve the problem. So that's really good that you've decided to maintain a friendship. And when you're deciding to maintain a friendship like this, you had mentioned that your son said that it would be okay if you did that. It's really unwise to look to other people for approval to continue to have a friendship or not. That needs to be a decision for each individual person to make. Sometimes when someone that we're close to has a problem with someone else, we're in the habit of that person telling us, don't be friends with this person anymore. Don't talk to this person anymore. That's accepting an expectation or a craving or a desire from another person and adopting that into your own mind. And this is very unwise to do that kind of thing. If you would choose to not be this person's friend, you would need that to be your own decision, not influenced by other people, because you need to make your own decision about what you think would be wise or unwise in any given situation. So it's really great that you did loving kindness meditation. That's exactly what you would like to do in order to eliminate your anger or any kind of frustration or agitation towards this person. But you need to get back to the root cause of that anger, which is the craving. And that's the craving, the desire, the attachment to your son and wanting people to talk to him in a certain way. And that's where the contemplation of death is going to help with that. And then the same thing with your son, if he asked for your advice of whether he should or shouldn't do work with this person anymore, that doesn't solve his problem, right? Like what you would like to be able to do is live harmoniously with all people and understand that people are struggling, they're challenged. This person had a certain perception, but at the end of the day, they talked it out and figured it out and worked it out. Judging this person and thinking of them in a negative way, not that you've said that you're doing that, but if an individual did that, that would be like, expecting this person to be perfect today when they're not going to be perfect today. They're struggling in the world just like you. They have an unenlightened mind. They're not perfect. And instead of just, kind of tossing a relationship away or tossing a customer away, it's really helpful just to realize like, hey, we had a challenge here. They had a certain perception. We talked it out. We solved it. And this is good. This is helpful for us. We've now come to a conclusion where we've been able to work through this challenge. And sure, maybe she did things that she regrets, and maybe she said things that you guys wish she wouldn't have said, but now she's learned something through that process. And now you guys can continue to be friends. She continue to be a customer, and you guys don't have to have this always, churning over friends and churning over customers, because that's very time consuming and exhausting to be able to do that.
Oh, thank you. It's really helpful.
Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with the contemplation of death, Fiona, how to do that?
Yes. Okay. You've mentioned it before, and when you first mentioned it to me, it was quite, I was a little bit, I'm comfortable with it, but I can understand why it's useful. Yeah, and you've got a video on it, is that right?
Yeah, I changed my setup today for Zoom. I'm testing something new out. Is it working for you guys okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm live. See, I'm waving to you. I'm live. I've just changed the setup a little bit. Okay.
So there's a video about contemplating death.
Yes. Sorry. Yes, there is a video. If you go to our YouTube channel and you search for how to eliminate attachment to those who are closest to us, that's where I teach. It's part of the Harmony and Relationships course. And if you click on that video, you will see me teaching many things But at the very end, I teach the contemplation of death.
Right, brilliant. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. I see that Julia has a question here in Zoom. I think it says, is it normal to have some moments of tranquility spontaneously, even when meditating? Yep, that's normal. You're going to start seeing more and more of the qualities of enlightenment shining through, not just during meditation, but in your day-to-day life too. It's kind of like the sun, and then there's clouds in front of the sun. And as you start peeling away the clouds, the rays of the sun start shining through. So as you're starting to eliminate some of that pollution, the rays of the sun start shining through, and it can be in meditation and it can be outside of meditation too. You can get extended periods of time, even multiple days and weeks, where you experience certain qualities shining through. But because the mind is still polluted, you will see that the mind will revert back to being discontent for a certain period of time. But you can see the glimpses. You start seeing glimpses. It's like a light bulb flickering and showing you that your mind has the potential to get to enlightenment, and you would like to keep doing what you're doing, which is practicing the Eightfold Path, practicing the meditation and all these things. And you'll see as more and more of the pollution gets out, more and more of the qualities will start shining through. They will be more profound, and they will be for longer periods of time. Did the Buddha teach Vipassana meditation, or is it just something that was changed over time? I have never seen anywhere in the teachings of the Buddha where he's taught Vipassana meditation. Vipassana meditation means different things to different people depending on who you talk to because of impermanence. Typically, people are talking about body scanning associated with Vipassana meditation, and the Buddha didn't teach that. You won't find anywhere in his teachings that he's teaching that. There's only 4 meditations that he taught: breathing mindfulness meditation, loving kindness meditation, meditation to eliminate sexual cravings, and meditation to realize non-self. The first 2 are the ones that everybody needs because it eliminates craving, the breathing mindfulness meditation, and the loving kindness meditation eliminates anger. And then the ignorance gets eliminated through cultivation of wisdom. And then the other 2 meditations, the meditation to eliminate sexual cravings and to realize non-self, those are used in specialized situations. Not everybody's going to need those. So the body scanning that I've been exposed to, at least that people tell me about that they've done, it actually allows the mind to continue to hold on. It doesn't actually train the mind to let go, which is what the mind needs to be able to do. Although I see what I think they're trying to accomplish, which is developing the 4 foundations of mindfulness and having awareness of the body. I understand their intention there, but that's ultimately not leading the mind to letting go. So the things that you see with Vipassana meditation out there, typically from what I've been exposed to, is not what the Buddha actually taught, and you won't find it anywhere in the Pali Canon. More from Julia. It is just so prevalent in the Asian countries. I'm just wondering if this is something that is also beneficial. Oftentimes monks from the temples will say breathing mindfulness meditation only decreases defilements, but does not eliminate it at the root. That is the root. A defilement is the root. So if a monk's saying that breathing mindfulness meditation just eliminates the defilements, but not the root, the defilements are the root. That's the root cause, is the defilements. I know you're from Myanmar, Julia, and that's where Vipassana is very prevalent. Of course, other places in the world too, but with the different people that have been interacting with Vipassana, you'll see it prevalent in Myanmar. So the defilements, the taints, the fetters, that is the root. That's the root cause of the discontentedness. And breathing mindfulness meditation does that. So an individual is misunderstanding there. And you can see the original words of the Buddha where he talks about breathing mindfulness meditation as the highest quality of wholesome karma that you can generate. And it's a priority and a primary aspect of your practice. You ask more here, analogous to putting a Band-Aid on a wound, but not addressing the roots. Yeah, that's not true. It is quite confusing for me. I would like to make sure I am on the right path. Thank you so much for your guidance. Yeah, you're on the right path. You're doing what the Buddha taught, and this will absolutely be what leads to your enlightenment. That's why you're experiencing some of that tranquility in your meditation, because it's actually working. The Vipassana meditation isn't needed in order to get to enlightenment. The Buddha never talks about it in his teachings. I never needed to learn it or do it as part of the path that I've been accomplishing and what I've accomplished with my mind. So there's no need to do Vipassana meditation. Julia asked more. I have certain aversions sometimes. I am okay in small doses, but then if repeated exposure, I get so agitated. Should I distance myself and then gradually introduce myself? I'm wondering if some of those aversions are from some cravings from my past lives. Thank you, teacher. Okay, so whenever you have a craving, desire, attachment that's producing conditioned pleasant feelings, those are the cravings, desires, attachments you'd like to separate the mind from. You'd like to separate your mind from those objects, whatever it's craving, and that's going to train your mind to let go. And then certain things you can actually reintroduce back into your practice. Like I gave the example of chocolate cake, right? You can distance yourself from chocolate cake for several months, but then ultimately it's not causing any harm. You can reintroduce it, but now you're eating it without craving, desire, attachment. When you have aversion to something and you're pushing it away, what you would actually like to do is expose the mind to that. So let's just keep with the food theme. At one time, I had an aversion to durian fruit. I couldn't stand durian fruit. The smell, the consistency in the mouth, I was repulsed by it. What I needed to do is I needed to expose the mind to that. So by pushing away and distancing yourself from an aversion isn't actually going to train the mind to let go. That's actually just pushing it away. You need to expose the mind to it. But in certain situations, it can be wise to kind of distance yourself from it for a period of time. Like say you have an aversion to a certain individual. Maybe this individual is bitter and harsh and hostile to you, but you ultimately would like to have a relationship with this person, but you can't spend time with that person because your mind just isn't ready. You might need to distance yourself from that person for a period of time and work on your own mind, and then slowly reintroduce this into your practice where now you can start spending time with that person selectively until your mind gets more and more exposure and you're able to actually spend time with that person without any kind of discontentedness. So I think that will definitely help you there. In terms of whether these aversions are from cravings from past lives or not, it doesn't actually matter. Whether it's from this life or past lives, it doesn't actually matter because the fact is that the mind has these cravings and you need to get rid of them. So if you do someday observe your past lives and you see that these cravings are from your past life, this will confirm for you in an independent verification that what I share with you is true and what the Buddha shares with you is true, that cravings and residual memories from your previous lives do move into the new mind. But whether that's the case or not, it really doesn't matter because you ultimately need to focus on eliminating the craving. It's in the mind now and get rid of it. Should you ever confirm that it was from a past life, that's just going to confirm for you what I'm actually teaching and what the Buddha teaches. But that's not necessarily important at this point. What's important is just to get rid of the craving. Okay, looks like Leo has a question. So go ahead, sir.
Thank you, David. Hello, everyone. I wanted to talk a little bit about the person, or what is the person? You say that mind and body come together, and is it they create the person?
Yeah. So this is the way the Buddha describes the combination of the body and the mind. He will typically do this with different things in his teachings. He will say, there's this thing and there's this thing. The combination of these things is this thing, right? That's what he does. He does that like there's the I, there's the form, there's the I consciousness, and these three things are called three things are called eye contact, right? So he'll kind of label it that way so you understand what you're experiencing. So he describes that there is a body, there is a mind, and then the combination of these two things is referred to as a person. Some people, you might hear them refer to this as the observer, because some people say, well, if the mind is polluted and it needs to get to enlightenment, who's making the choices for that mind to get trained and get to enlightenment? What's making the choices? Well, ultimately, it's the mind that's making the choices, but it's the person, right? The person needs to be like the adult in the room looking at the mind and say, hey, Mr. Mind, Mrs. Mind, you need some training over there. And the mind's like, no, I don't want to train. I don't want to do meditation. I want to stay in the darkness. I want to be angry. I want to be frustrated. I want to talk bad to people. And the person needs to be like, no. You're not going to do that, right? We're going to get you some training. So that's helps you to be able to think about the mind as a third entity, because there's like this person where oftentimes the mind is revolting and almost throwing a temper tantrum, where the person is like, oh, no, we've got to fix this, right? So that kind of helps you to treat the mind like a third entity so that you can now get it the training that it actually needs.
And it's just another word for human being. Or
yeah, you can think of it like that. We look at a body that looks like this and a mind that functions like this, and we call this a human being because there was a body and a mind that came together. But the idea and understanding that this is a person, like I mentioned, it helps you to treat the mind like a third entity, so that the person is looking at the mind and saying, hey, mind, you need to get some training. Or the person is looking at the defilements or the symptoms of the defilements and able to identify those. It's really the mind that's doing all of this, but the person analogy helps you to understand what you need to do.
Like, oh, Leo, what are you doing there? I can use my name, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can talk to yourself. It will help you because your mind is like very unruly, and you can be like, come on, Leo, what are you doing? Like, come on, get with it. Come on, you're not as handsome as you think you are. That girl isn't really looking at you. Come on, like just get on with your day. Let's go get some food. That's just your ego talking, Leo. Come on, let's go.
Actually, I was in the gym today, and there was a nice, beautiful woman again.
Mm-hmm. They tend to hang out there.
And struggled. It was difficult.
Yeah.
Because I talked to her. And
yeah.
Anyway. Yeah.
That's a very strong central desire that many people have.
Yeah. What I also wanted to talk about a few cravings. What I realized, for example, I played paintball with some friends at the weekend, and I realized this symptom of or this urge to, because I had some nice hits in the first game, and I realized this coming up, this urge to tell people that I did so many hits,
Mm-hmm.
Or someone was asking, oh, who did this? And I was like, I did. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think this was a symptom of personal existence view, right? And conceit is two, I think.
Personal existence view would be like if you're clinging to the identity of, say, I am a great paintballer, right? And now if you cling to that identity and someone's like, Leo, you're such a great paintballer, you're so good, and you get all proud about that. Or if someone is like, Leo, you're not that good, you're not a good paintballer, and you're like, no, I'm a good paintballer, right? That would be your personal existence view. The conceit would be the part where you're talking about where you take pride in letting people know that that was your hits, right? You can actually do these kinds of things humbly, right? You can actually go play paintball, have fun, enjoy. And if someone's like, hey, who did these hits? You can just be like, yeah, me. It was, I did that. You can just remain humble. You don't have to like be all puffed up. But when you're around a bunch of guys, maybe you just went to the gym, you saw a beautiful woman, you had a nice talk with her, maybe your chest is puffed out. You've got to recognize that with your mindfulness and not allow your mind to do that.
Okay. Right. So maybe it's the best when I play something like this, I just don't say anything, just do my thing. I tried to do this. I did this, I would say. And there was also a time where I didn't do any hits and people just shot me, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and sometimes there was also a little bit this urge to, it was just a small hit. Should I just move on? But I thought that would be lying somehow. So I just go out. Mm-hmm. Because when somebody is hit, he goes out of the field, right, and waits until the next round. And I just did that, but I saw these cravings of, I can't be the first one getting out here. The whole game is just starting. But this is a good way, I think, right? Just move out. It's just impermanence.
Yeah,
right?
be honest. And when you see that thought arise where you don't want to go out, you use right effort to cut that off and say, no, I need to be honest here. I need to play ethically, and that makes the game fair and fun. You know, if I'm not following the rules, then other people aren't going to follow the rules either. So you need to like follow the rules of the game, and that's going to make it more fun, and you're functioning more ethically that way.
I actually also realized that on this whole day of playing, I think I wasn't really paying attention to the mindfulness. I think this could be normal, right? If so many things come up, like it was a lot of fun, other people also had a lot of fun, you could see it in their facial expressions and so on. So yeah, I realized when I went out, I wasn't really sure if I really cut off like pleasant feelings when they came up. So I couldn't really recall that if I did it or not. Maybe I did it automatically.
Yeah, you probably had a certain amount of craving that was in the mind, right? Because you're craving to play this game, and whenever the mind's craving arises, you will lack mindfulness typically, especially early in your practice like this, because you've only been learning with me for about a year, I think. Early in your practice like this, when your mind is craving, you're going to lose your mindfulness. So you really need to pay attention to that and cut off any cravings that are coming up so you can learn how to enjoy the game and play it fun and play it ethically, but at the same time have awareness of your mind. And that's part of the practice, right? Sometimes people think the practice is just sitting on the mat and doing meditation. That's not the case. Your practice is, yes, meditation, but it's outside meditation too. In situations like this, you need to maintain your mindfulness. So you're going to need to pay attention to the mind at all times. So next time you go play, you've learned something now that you didn't have mindfulness so much when you were there. So you're going to need to pay attention to that. You had some conceit that you would rather not have when you're there. So you're going to need to pay attention to that. So in each one of these situations, you can work on it and get better and better at it. So if paintball is something you're going to be playing regularly, I would encourage you to go do it again while it's fresh in your mind, right? Like if you wait 6 months to go do this, then you're not going to have the wherewithal. That's what we call it, or the thought to go in and actually pay attention to these things. Whereas if you can do it again and again and again and again, you can hit the mind multiple times and really refine it in a short period of time rather than delaying it for so long where you don't go for like 6 months or a year or something.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure if I find people to do this so early again, but yeah, I see the point.
You can also do it with like basketball or soccer, football. So you can use other sports too. It doesn't have to just be paintball, because like when you were here and we were playing basketball in the village, we had fun, we had a good time, but I could tell there was a certain amount of ego there, right? When you were playing, yeah, so there's your smile, right? So you can do it in those situations too. So it doesn't have to just be paintball, but any kind of sporting and competition. Remember we were playing board games and there was some ego there too. So you're going to need to get used to playing games with people without the ego. And so you can do it in different environments. It doesn't have to be exactly the same environment like paintball.
Okay. Then what I also realized is that, for example, I have craving, like I'm afraid that someone could steal from me. For example, when I'm in the train and I go to the toilet, I'm afraid that someone could steal something out of my bag, or took my bag. Mm-hmm. What do you think I can do here? I mean, yeah, sometimes I just take my wallet, put it in the pocket, because there's maybe the worst that would be gone. Should I just let the baggage there and go to the toilet? And I'm just a little bit like, okay, if someone would steal this, there are so many things inside. I need to somehow get back, or some of that, right? And why should I do this intentionally? Because I just have trouble to get these things back.
Yeah, there's two sides to this. The first side is what's causing the fear is the craving, the attachment to those items, right? So you're going to need to eliminate your craving, desire, attachment to those items. And that might mean you need to leave them at home and go outside, like if it's your mobile phone or something like that. You need to go outside without these things multiple times to train your mind to let them go, right? That's part of it. You need to train your mind to eliminate the craving, desire, attachment so that the fear's not there. But then it's wise decisions in certain situations to take your items with you, right? Like I know in most places that I travel, I need to keep my items close by. But when I'm here in Thailand, I mean, it's pretty, sometimes I shock myself by like the things that I do, like leaving my MacBook like in a restaurant when I go somewhere really far to the bathroom. I just leave it sitting right there on the table and I know that people aren't going to steal it. But it can be wise decision making to just put it in a bag, take the bag with you or something like that. There's no harm in doing that, but you need to do it without fear. So the first thing is to eliminate the craving, desire, attachment to the items, to the objects, but then just make wise decisions to take it with you. Even though you don't have an attachment to these items, it can be a wise decision to just take it with you so that they don't get stolen.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. That what I also realized is a big, I would say, maybe craving. Like if I'm coming from work, for example, or from the internship I was in, I like to jump right into the bed and do my stuff there, right? Somehow like, how you can say, a reward or something. Mm-hmm. I think the best is, of course, don't lie in the bed, just sit on the chair, right? Yeah, but I see that struggle here to do that.
Yeah, so if you're noticing there's a craving to do that, you would like to do just the opposite, right? Because what I was just sharing with Fiona is that if the mind, or maybe it was Juliet, but I think it was Fiona. Oh, maybe it was Julia. If the mind is craving something and getting pleasant feelings from it, you need to distance yourself from the object. So because you're getting pleasant feelings from coming home from work and jumping right in bed, this is something you're going to need to distance yourself from. Distance the mind from it so that it can be trained to let go. So instead of coming home and jumping in the bed, you're going to need to sometimes come home and do other things besides jumping in the bed. And that's going to train the mind to let go of this craving. And over time, once you let go of this craving, you'll be able to do this without any issues. You'll be able to come home and jump in the bed if that's what you'd like to do, but there's no craving there. So you're going to need to take a few weeks of coming home and not jumping in the bed and sitting in a chair, sitting on the sofa, or go for a bike ride or go for a walk or whatever it is. And over time, your mind will let this go. And then ultimately, every once in a while, you probably will come home and just jump in the bed, and that's fine, but you're not doing it based on craving, desire, attachment. You can be comfortable in the bed and enjoy that, and you can be comfortable in the chair and enjoy that. So the challenge that you're experiencing, why it's challenging for you to come home and sit in the chair, is because the mind's craving the bed. If you didn't have a craving for the bed, it wouldn't be challenging for you to come home and sit in the chair. You'd be completely comfortable, you'd be at ease, your mind would enjoy that just as much as being in the bed. So that's what you would like to train the mind to do. The mind wants to pull towards the bed because of that central desire on the body, and what you need to do, the person needs to tell the mind like, no, you're not getting the bed today. And your mind's like, no, I want the bed. You're not getting it today. Sorry, little boy, you're not getting it. We're sitting over here in the chair. And the mind's like, no, I don't want the chair. That's the challenging part, right? So you're, bringing the mind in that opposite direction. And that's where I talk about you need to walk through some painful feelings in order to appreciate the fresh air on the other side. You're going to have to walk through those painful feelings because when you're separating the mind from an attachment, it's painful. It hurts. And the other analogy that I give is like you join the mafia and now you're getting out of the mafia. And getting out of the mafia is like really painful, right? So that's what you're doing. And keep that in mind that there's peacefulness waiting on the other side of this when your mind lets go of this craving and this attachment.
Okay. How is it like if it becomes more a preference? Is it still somehow some kind of pulling me into this? Like, then without discontentedness, just pulling me, I want to go, it's not a want anymore, right? But somehow I choose I see the bed and I would right away go to the bed because it's more comfortable. Mm-hmm. would it be this way if it's just a preference?
No, if it's a preference, you're not going to be pulled towards it. That's the craving, desire, attachment. That's pulling you towards the object. And you need to be careful because the mind will try to trick you. Your mind will try to say, oh, this is just a preference. I'm going to keep going to the bed. And that's where the person has to step in and say, no. I'm going to go to the chair. Because if the mind is telling you it wants to go to the bed and it's a true preference, then it would be just as content going to the chair. So test it out. Don't give the mind what it wants in that situation. Test it out and see, is it just as comfortable in the chair as it is in the bed? Because that's your ultimate indication of whether there's a craving, desire, attachment in the mind, is there discontentedness? If there's discontentedness in the mind, surely there's a craving, desire, attachment. But if the mind can be just as peaceful in the bed as is in the chair, then you know that the craving has been eliminated. But you can't just do that once or twice and just be like, okay, it's eliminated, right? You're going to need to be dedicated to do it consistently over multiple situations to ensure that the craving is gone. The way that I talk about this is it's like taking a rag and you're wringing out the rag and getting every last little drop out of the rag. So even though it looks like the rag is dry, don't just believe that. Wring it out and get every last little drop out. So just because the mind is trying to convince you that the craving is gone, perhaps, don't just believe that. Put the mind in the situation that it potentially doesn't want to be in and test it out and see, is this craving really gone? And do that over multiple situations.
Yeah, I think the mind sometimes likes to trick someone. Yeah, I realize that too.
It's very tricky. Very
sometimes
tricky.
I don't see the craving, or I'm not sure. Well, maybe I don't pay too much attention to that, like to find out if there's a craving. But like on the overlook, I don't see it. Like I think there's not a craving. So, but I think the mind is triggering me. It's the same with if I'm looking right now. I like to watch the news or videos. I don't have I'm not discontent if I watch the news, for example. I'm not discontent about what's happening there. So I might eliminate this craving or maybe a big part of that. But I think I think there's still maybe the craving for all the time being up to date or seeing what comes next year. The new Bundeskanzler was voted in Germany. He's going to France. They say let's see what there's going on. So sometimes I watch like 2-3 times a day the news for the last 2-3 weeks. So it seems there's a craving, right?
So that's where you put some impermanence into it. Watch the news and don't watch it for 2 or 3 days and see what the mind's doing. Is it pulling towards it? And if it is, then you need to keep doing this where you watch it one day, don't watch it 2 or 3 days, watch it one day, don't watch it 2 or 3 days, do these kinds of things and challenge the mind to let this go. I went one time a whole year without watching the news. At that time, I wasn't training my mind in these teachings so closely, but it was the most peaceful year I ever had until now. Now it's like peaceful, way more peaceful than that. But that was a really peaceful time frame because I wasn't watching the news for an entire year. And I knew what was going on in the world because people will tell you. You don't have to worry about that. But you can go a period of time without watching the news, and this will help you eliminate your craving for the world to be a certain way.
But I'm not sure if I have this craving for the world to be a certain way, because I don't see discontentedness, like anger or something. If I see, India is going into a war with this other country and so on, right? So I don't see this so much. Yeah. Is this maybe not the case? What do you think? So
if you're not sure and you don't see it, that's where you need to put your mind in the situation and observe it, right? Because if there's a craving there's going to be discontentedness. So put the mind in the situation where you don't watch the news for like a week or two and see how the mind experiences that. And if you notice that the mind's pulling and it's discontent because you're not watching the news, then you'll know, there's a craving there. So it's not a matter of just continuing to watch the news and to observe the mind to see if there's discontentedness. That is part of it. But sometimes what you would like to do is distance yourself from the object and just see, is the mind having any discontentedness? Is it pulling towards the news? You'd like to test it out and challenge the mind in this way.
Okay, perfect. And the last little question I would like to ask is, I realize that I'm still using sometimes the cutting off internally, like saying it. Mm-hmm. I think you said that it's good somehow to let this go too, right?
Yeah.
But what is about that? Can I still do it for a half year or a year and it's fading away for its own?
Yeah, I probably did it for a good 1.5 to 2 years. So if that's what you would like to do, then there's no harm in doing that. You could even do it longer. You're not in a competition. Don't need to compare yourself to me, but there's no harm in doing it for a while until your mind gets really good at cutting off internally without saying that. But as long as you need it, just use it.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Right, yeah, thank you for the answering.
Yeah, you're welcome. We have some more questions coming in. Tran is asking in Zoom, hi, teacher. I'm practicing meditation every day. It is feeling a bit sleepy in between. I also felt I cannot get out of meditation. It is like addiction to me. I want to see walking meditation, eating meditation, or running meditation, exercises in meditation, or something like that. I feel like I just hold on to my breath and feeling and focus on eating well, exercises, sleep enough, healing, and thinking mindfulness. But I still not fully fulfilled, as it is not real routine when I have to go to work. Is there a better way to work in mindfulness? Okay, you've got some more here, but let me answer some of the questions that you've asked so far. First off, when somebody's first starting to meditate, they will experience sleepiness typically, because the mind oftentimes is like a dry sponge, that it hasn't been getting what it wants. Even though you've been sleeping in the past, now that you're starting to meditate regularly, the mind's finally getting what it's needed all these years, and it's going to start performing more optimally. And one of the things that it's going to be interested to do is potentially sleep. And if that's the case, just get some sleep. If that's what you would like to do, get some sleep. And when you wake up, meditate after that. Or if you'd like to switch positions, you can switch to like a standing or walking position. So just understand that you're going to need to go through this hump. It's kind of like a 6-month hump, or some people it's like a 1-year hump, that you go through this period of time where you're really sleepy because the mind's kind of absorbing this training, and it's really exhausting because the mind is so polluted early in practice that it's having to do a lot of work. So it can become quite sleepy. The next thing is to understand that there's no such thing as eating meditation or running meditation. If you've been taught these kinds of things, this isn't actually true. Meditation is done in the seated, lying, standing, and walking positions. There isn't such thing as an eating meditation or a running meditation, even though I know people out there that are teaching those kinds of things. That's not what the Buddha taught, and those kinds of things aren't going to actually lead to your enlightenment. So if you haven't learned the meditation from my resources yet, I encourage you to learn with those resources, because that's what's going to help you to be able to understand how the Buddha taught meditation. And then when you're practicing that, that's where you're going to see the results and the benefit. Let's see, I feel like I just hold on to my breathing and feeling and focus on eating, exercise, healing, mindfulness, but I still not fully fulfilled, as it is not a real routine. Yeah, so your meditation practice is going to be impermanent. If you are getting pleasant feelings from when you meditate, you feel great, and when you don't meditate, you don't feel so fulfilled, that's because the mind is attached to meditation. So you're going to need to understand that your meditation practice is impermanent. Some days you will meditate maybe 2 or 3 times a day. Other times maybe you just meditate once. Or every once in a while, you might even forget to meditate for an entire day. And that's okay. Your enlightenment isn't going to be determined based on whether you miss meditation today or not. Your enlightenment is going to be determined based on, if you miss meditation today, what do you do next? Right? Do you continue to miss meditation day after day after day? Or do you consistently put together enough meditation over the next several years that you're gradually making your way to enlightenment? So if you do 2 or 3 meditations per day, let's just say 2, that would be 60 meditations in a month. right? If you did every single day 2 meditations. Well, you're probably not going to do that, particularly right off from the beginning. So if you get 52 or 53 or 54, you're going to make your way to enlightenment because you're consistently meditating over a long-term period. If you can do this for multiple years, right? So that's what's going to determine whether you get to enlightenment. So if you actually miss meditation here or there, it's okay. No need to feel guilty. And don't base your inner feelings of fulfillment whether you meditate or not, because that's just an attachment. If you're further along in your practice, what I would encourage you to do is actually intentionally miss meditation to train your mind that it is impermanent. But I'm not sure where you are in your practice and if you've been meditating for a long-term period. But at some point, if you're still noticing this situation, you can intentionally miss meditation in order to train the mind that it's impermanent. You go on here, you say, mind was covered by thoughts of how to earn money, how to survive, how and when I will travel again, how my body is aching a lot, and when will my partner will come and spend time with me, etc. It is everyday work, somehow being observer of my feeling, cravings, triggers, still not enough, because I need to make decisions as well to fulfill my life. I just don't know what is the wise decision. Is it making wise decisions at loving feelings? Okay, so during meditation, you're going to have a bombardment of thoughts. That's common for someone who's just learning. And even for someone multiple years into their journey, they will get a bombardment of thoughts, lots of rapid thoughts during their meditation, or even during the day sometimes. Or you will have a thought, you will indulge in that thought for a period of time, and then you will remember 2 or 3 minutes down the road that you are meditating, and then you'll remember to bring your mind back to your breath. So all of that is normal. That's just that the mind is not well trained yet. So you just stick with it, continue to meditate. Anytime you notice that your mind's off the breath, cut that off and bring it back. Even an enlightened being, their mind will move off the breath occasionally, but as soon as it happens, they know it, they cut it off, and they bring their mind right back to the breath. And they have these long periods of time of quietness and stillness in the mind. So your goal here isn't to eliminate your thoughts. Your goal is to notice them sooner and sooner and let them go easier and easier. That's your ultimate goal. To notice the thoughts sooner and sooner and cut them off and let them go easier and easier. So you will have thoughts during meditation. The thoughts aren't the problem. The problem is that the mind is discontent. The cause of that problem is the craving, desire, attachment. So just each time you notice your mind's off the breath, just let that go and let that go. And then in terms of making wise decisions, you will learn this through training your mind. You'll learn more and more through the teachings of the Buddha. What are wise decisions? What are unwise decisions? And it's just going to take time for you to gradually learn the teachings and train your mind. And as you have different situations, like Leo was just having all these different situations, he was asking for help, and Fiona was having some challenges that she asked for help. Little by little, you learn wise decision making like this. So if you're ever having any challenges and you would like to talk either in class like this, or you can post in our Facebook group, you can send me a private message, or you can schedule personal guidance, and I will help you with any kind of questions that you have. So slowly but surely, you can cultivate wisdom about wise decision making. And then you say, is it making decisions at loving feelings? I'm not 100% sure what you're asking there. You can clarify it if you like, but I would like to just share with you that love is not a feeling. Oftentimes people think that love is a feeling. Feelings arise, they change, and then they fade away. And love, when you're practicing true love, it's permanent. It's unconditional. There's no condition that's causing the love, so there's nothing that anybody can do for it to be eliminated. But oftentimes people don't understand what is true love. They're practicing craving, desire, attachment, which masquerades as love. And that's where someone says, I've fallen in love with you, and I have fallen out of love with you. This isn't actually love. That's craving, desire, attachment. So once you understand what true love is, you understand that it's not a feeling and it doesn't arise, change, and fade away. It's permanent. It's unconditional. There isn't anything that you have to do in order to earn my love. So therefore, there's nothing that you can do for me to stop loving you. You'll learn about this in Volume 1, Chapter 15 of this book. You'll learn about true love. But if you have an update to that question, feel free to let me know and I'll help you. Julia is asking, if you give up your attachments, like, for example, for money, financial stability, how can one function in the society such as the US, which is capitalistic? Is it best perhaps to have financial success as a goal, but not cling to it or crave it? Yes, Julia, that's what you would like to do, is have it as a goal, something you gradually work towards. Having a craving and giving up a craving doesn't mean that you give up your interest in improving your income and, developing more wealth, because an enlightened being can actually be wealthy. It's just that by giving up your craving, you're no longer forming your feelings based on that thing. So if your bank account's up here, you're happy. And if your bank account's down here, you're sad. That's what you're looking to eliminate. But you don't have to eliminate the goal to increase your wealth. You could continue on your journey, making wise decisions and having a goal. But the difference is that an enlightened being will make their money ethically, morally responsibly, using things like right livelihood, and they won't be tied to it. They will be generous with their wealth. They will share it, right? So those two situations is how somebody on the path can actually get to enlightenment and be wealthy and continue to make money, because they're doing it through right livelihood, where they're not causing any harm to other beings, and they're not tied to their money, forming their emotions based on it. So what you said there at the end is exactly right. And you'll actually function better in the society of the USA when you're not attached to your money, because you'll be able to make wiser and wiser decisions. And you'll actually see, by not being attached to your money, you will actually be more successful with your money. When you're making decisions based in craving, desire, attachment related to your money, you actually won't be very successful with it, because the mind will be angry and frustrated and irritated and annoyed when you don't have the money that you want to have. But when you can be peaceful and joyful, no matter what your bank account balance is, then you can focus your time, effort, energy, and resources towards continued growth in your wealth, if that's what you're choosing to do. Julia also asked, how can we get rid of comparing with others? Just cut it off whenever we realize we are doing so. Thank you very much, Teacher David. So that is one part of it. Where that comparison is coming from is it's coming from the mind's conceit. When there's conceit, where the mind's measuring and comparing and making yourself superior or inferior to others, this is the fetter of conceit. And whenever you're seeing it arise in the moment, cut it off and let it go. Cut it off and let it go. Redirect the mind somewhere else. That's exactly what you would like to do. But then you would like to implement those proactive methods that I have in Volume 1, Chapter 16. There's multiple proactive methods of training your mind to eliminate conceit. One of the best things you can do is move your sleeping arrangement to the floor. If you can sleep on the floor, like just put your mattress on the floor. This will be really helpful for you to eliminate conceit. It's not going to be in one day or 1 week or 1 month, but over time, going down into the bed and getting up out of the bed, this will gradually eliminate the conceit. And there's other things in Volume 1, Chapter 16 as well. But in the moment, yes, cut off and let go, but then implement some of the proactive methods that are in Chapter 16. Okay, I don't see any more questions in Zoom. Let me see if we have any in YouTube or Facebook. I don't see any there. Let me just check one more time. Okay, I don't see any questions anywhere. Okay, so what I'll do then is just end class by thanking all of you guys. Thank you for your question. Thank you for your wonderful discussion. This is great that you guys have so many questions. It shows that you're really actively practicing the teachings. You're really thinking about them. You're trying to understand how to apply them in your day-to-day life. This is outstanding. This is exactly what you would like to do. This is a community that's trained in investigation of the teachings. Instead of just sitting around and talking conceited talk, we're investigating the teachings, and that's what you guys are doing. So excellent discussion with all these questions that you guys have. On Sunday, I'm going to be teaching in the group learning program the frequently asked questions section of this book. There's 11 frequently asked questions that the students ask me, and I put them in the book, and I'm going to teach them on Sunday at 9 a.m. Thai time and 9 p.m. Thai time. So you're welcome to attend that or watch the recordings. And then on Wednesday next week, we're going to be doing loving kindness meditation, and I'll open up to any and all questions that you guys have there as well. This Saturday, of course, we have our Polycanon English study group, so you're always welcome to join that if people are interested in joining that. So thank you all for your questions. Thank you for attending class. Thank you for any support or generosity that you're sharing with me. I really appreciate that. So until next time, have a very wonderful and lovely rest of your day. We'll see you. Take care. Sawadee-ka. Thank you again for watching. Enjoy your meditation. Look forward to seeing you online and answering any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.